When you think of 2020, you automatically think of Animal Crossing. It was just the game of that time. Everyone was posting colorful islands, creative designs, and those cute villagers everyone seemed to love. Back then, nobody would have expected that a black market would form in such a sweet and peaceful game like Animal Crossing, and that fans would end up losing a lot of money. The whole story began in 2020, when Animal Crossing New Horizons finally launched for the Nintendo Switch. It was the first Animal Crossing game in a long time, and the hype was enormous. Everyone wanted it, and it broke many sales records. Animal Crossing was truly everywhere at the time, but the real hype of the game revolved around one very specific thing: the villagers. In Animal Crossing, there are several hundred villagers, and some of them are insanely popular. At the very top was Raymond, a cat in an office outfit with differently colored eyes. He became popular unbelievably fast. Memes, fan art, merch. Raymond had it all, but it wasn't just him. Judy, the colorful bear with star eyes, Anka, the Egyptian cat, and Marshal, the little squirrel, were also among the absolute favorites. On social media, there were many discussions about who the best villagers were, and which ones were the most boring ones. And whenever someone mentioned that they had Raymond, the comment section absolutely exploded. Some people joked that they would sell their soul just to get him. And from those harmless memes, a real black market quickly developed. Everyone wanted the most popular characters, but those were of course hard to come by. In Animal Crossing, you can have up to 10 villagers on your island, and who shows up is mostly random. Sure, you could ask friends or hope that your favorite villager would show up someday, but that was pretty unlikely. And that's when the community got creative. What started as an idea of trading villagers suddenly grew bigger, and I mean much bigger. Memes, fan art, and scarcity made the market value of certain villagers completely skyrocket. Raymond, Judy, Anka, and Marshal suddenly became more than just characters on an island. What began as a small meme turned into a phenomenon and laid the foundation for something that would later go down in gaming history as the Animal Crossing black market. And then things really started speeding up. Within just a few weeks, a real marketplace formed around Animal Crossing New Horizons. And this is no joke, a real black market emerged. Fans began organizing on platforms like Discord or eBay and simply sold villagers. An entirely new fan website called Nookazon was created where you could buy and sell them. So if you wanted the popular villager Raymond, you could buy him there either for mile tickets, bells, or real money. Yes, you heard that right. Real money. Officially, none of this was allowed, not even by the website. But of course, that didn't stop people. Okay, but how did this actually work? How can you even sell a villager? Nintendo surely didn't just build that into the game. The answer is surprisingly simple. In Animal Crossing, there's that moment when a villager wants to move out. They pack up their boxes and are ready to leave the island. And that exact time window was used by the traders. So if someone had Raymond on their island and he wanted to move out, it would quickly get posted on Discord, eBay, or Nookazon. The buyer would get a dodo code, fly to the island, talk to Raymond, and boom, by the next day he had officially moved. That was the foundation of the trading system. At first it was completely fair, using in-game currency like bells or mile tickets. But only a short time later, real money entered the picture. On eBay, offers appeared where Raymond or Judy were listed for $50, $100, or even $300. No joke, people actually paid triple-digit amounts just to get specific villagers on their island, in a game that was supposed to be relaxing. But sometimes things didn't go so well, because of course there were also a lot of scams. Some people took the money and simply disappeared. Others even used hacked consoles to clone villagers and sell them in huge quantities. Yeah, one of the most peaceful games ever suddenly involved hacking, cloning, and trading. And at the center of all this madness, Raymond. The hype around him reached absurd levels. On Nookazon, there were offers where people bid over 1,000 Nook Mile tickets for him. That's millions of bells. One player wrote in disbelief, "I've seen people go up to 1,274 Nook Mile tickets. It's ridiculous." And yes, it was. It was absolutely ridiculous. Of course, this didn't go unnoticed. Nintendo, who wanted to provide peace and quiet with the game, were not happy at all, because trading villagers and items for real money was a clear violation of Nintendo's terms terms of service. And Nintendo is famously not exactly chill about stuff like this. In June 2020, Nintendo spoke up and said that selling or auctioning in-game content on platforms like eBay was a clear violation of the terms of service, and that they would take action. But the problem was, trading happened outside the game, on eBay, Discord or fan websites, places Nintendo had no control over. How do you punish someone who sells villagers for $50 somewhere on the internet? And that was exactly the issue. Nintendo couldn't really do anything, except try to fight the actual cause. And that cause was clearly the lack of access to popular villagers. And here Nintendo had a brilliant idea. They not only found a way to combat the problem, but also to profit from it at the same time. Amiibo cards. Amiibo cards first launched in October 2015, well before the Switch game, and were compatible with Happy Home Designer and New Leaf. And these Amiibo cards had a very helpful function. You could just invite the villager from the corresponding Amiibo card to your island. In fall 2021, about a year and a half after release, Nintendo launched Series 5 of the Amiibo cards, and it was a huge deal, because suddenly there were finally cards for all the highly sought after New Horizons characters like Raymond, Judy and many others. Anyone who wanted their favorite villagers didn't have to make shady deals on Discord anymore, they could simply get them legally in the game for a few dollars. And that was a pretty smart move, because while eBay sellers were charging hundreds of dollars for digital villagers, Nintendo suddenly started making money themselves. Of course, the Amiibo card packs sold out immediately, but at least it was clear. Nintendo wanted to eliminate the black market, and they did so pretty successfully. In the end, Nintendo solved the problem not by banning anyone, but by clever product design. Instead of fighting the black market itself, they simply made it unnecessary. Many sellers in the community then stopped, partly because they were afraid of punishment, and partly because they realized how out of control everything had gotten. And honestly, that was probably the best thing that could have happened. As usual, there eventually came a moment when things returned to normal. In 2021, a lot changed. Nintendo released new updates, added new content, and finally the huge 2.0 update, with new furniture, new features, and most importantly, new villagers. 16 of them, to be exact. And of course, there was immediately a small hype around villagers like Shino, Sasha, and more. But this time, Nintendo was smarter. All of these new characters had Amiibo cards already. That meant no gambling, and more importantly, no black market. Anyone who wanted their favorites could just buy them, completely legal for little money. Artificial scarcity, the biggest driving force behind the black market, was suddenly removed. And you could tell, hardly anyone was willing to pay a lot of money or tons of mile tickets anymore when you could just get the same character for a few dollars now. On top of that, the hype around Animal Crossing slowly vanished. In 2020, it was the #1 hype game. In 2021, most people were already finished with their islands, so the demand naturally dropped as well. The market finally calmed down after a few months, and for fans, that was the best possible outcome. Looking back, the Animal Crossing black market feels completely bizarre. That people really paid hundreds of dollars for individual villagers seems absurd, but it actually happened. As with every big hype, someone tries to make money off of it, and the fact that it happened through a black market in such a peaceful game like Animal Crossing is somehow sad. In the end, the Animal Crossing black market remains an interesting memory of a time when everything felt a little different.